Now I'd like to ask a panel of four experts up here. They are from different companies, global companies, some of them headquartered in Denmark and some very active in district heating in Denmark as well. It's Henrik Bjerregaard, it's Martin Petersen, it's Sten Schelle Jensen, it's Carsten Østergaard Petersen. And you have promised to deliver a few, some points on your work with district energy. So my first question to you, we can take it around. Each of you may be able to tell in which area, in which technology area are you contributing to efficiency and sector coupling within district heating? Please.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, Hans Peter. I'm happy to be here. Well, Kingspan Locks, we are the backbone of the district heating system. We do the pre-insulated pipes. We did them yesterday, we did them today, and we'll do them for tomorrow's solutions as well. And as just mentioned by Brian and Lars, the district heating system is the piping system is the backbone for developing all the system and taking waste heat into account. At the same time, I would like to add that when you do this, look at the total cost of ownership. Lars, you take the cheapest way overall, because then you make sure you invest properly up front and you have lower operational cost. So you don't invest too little and have high operations cost and don't have the possibility to expand the system. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm from ABB. I would say we have two layers. We have the backbone, which is the electrical, the motors, the drives, the instrumentation of the complete system. But when we talk about efficiency and sector coupling, the main part that we try to contribute is an automation system going back 35 years, trying to automate the system, but then as everything expands with surplus heat pumps, power to X surplus heat, we need an overall umbrella that can orchestrate all this. And this is what we are trying to do. And I would like to send out the message that also from the panel down there, we already have the technology, but we need to gather all the data so that we can accomplish what actually Lars and Brian is saying, because it's possible. It's already out there.
Sten?
Yes, Sten from Kamstrup. First of all, we measure energy consumption, and I think that's important, of course, to build the customer and to create transparency also in these times with very high energy costs. But it's certainly also important in an energy efficiency context, simply because we cannot optimize what we do not measure. So everything starts with the transparency into our energy consumption. So from Kamstrup, we do digital solutions to help the energy providers to optimize and implement energy efficiency measures in their own operation, in the way they operate and plan and maintain district energy systems. And we provide insights on how to enable them to better engage with end users, also to engage them in increasing their energy efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, so my name is Carsten and I'm from Grundfos, and we provide pumps so that we can distribute all the nice, maybe not hot water, but average temperature water for heating the buildings. And alone by controlling pumps right and not having these very old uncontrolled pumps, we can save a lot of energy in the systems. But we also look more into the hydronic systems, not just the pumps itself. And as Brian mentioned earlier, then we need these low temperature district heating grids to actually be able to take all the surplus heat in the industry and the buildings around. And we provide a solution now where we, in a more decentralized way, we actually split the city into different zones and lower the temperatures according to the demand. So we also have a digitally enabled solutions where we can read out the demand and match that with the temperatures that's actually required for a specific zone. And then we can combine with Danfoss supermarket solutions where we extract the heat and put that into such a zone. So, yeah.
Thanks a lot. We got you all four on the map now. We know what you stand for. I'd like to ask you where you see, I mean, it may be your technology, but also your customers overall. Where do you, I mean, we're talking about sector integration. My waste is your resource and vice versa. So where are the wasted resources today that district heating can actually utilize better? Where's the biggest potential that you see in your work? Let's take it this way.
Okay. Definitely today and yesterday it's industry. Recently we published this study in Denmark showing that around 100,000 individual houses would have, there would be plenty of energy for conversion of the individual gas boiler. There are some other figures out there saying 200,000, even 300,000, but there is plenty. So let's do that now by using waste heat from the industry. Later we can discuss data center, later we can discuss P2X, but industry today. And let us just remind each other that transporting hot water in good Kingspan Lochstad pipe is really with no temperature losses. Over 20 kilometers, transporting hot water around 80 degrees, the temperature drop is 1 degree. I mean, that was the calculation. In practice, it was half a degree for 20 kilometers, 80 degrees hot water. So it's not a problem. There is still a heat loss, yes, but it's not a problem to transport hot water today.
Completely agree. We are controlling 60 kilometers or 80 kilometers just at Middelfart, and there you have a complete loss of only 2%. What I would like to highlight is complexity. I think that we need to acknowledge that if we want to collect heat from wherever it is across the city, it increases complexity. In the past, you have one single source of heating and then maybe a gas motor or something like that, but now it's pretty complex. So besides picking up from industry, warehouses, data centers, it's very important that we understand the demand across the city. And that no single person can do that in the control room. So again, I think we all speak the same language. We need that data to make sure that we can deliver lower heat temperature at the right time, at the right place, from the right source to lower footprint. But I would highlight that right now we see that the industry has surplus heat, but in 2-3 years, we will see Power-to-X and carbon capture and storage surplus heat, where we really need to focus on where do we need to put those plants so it makes sense in a district heating environment. I think that's something that needs to be discussed, because right now we see mega complexes just beside each other in Esbjerg, which means that we have 20 times the heat needed. Could we do it in another way so it maybe is distributed more across Denmark, because there's going to be a huge heat source there.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes, fully agree that we need to change, of course, the overall production mix that introduces a lot of complexity, like you mentioned, Martin. And I think maybe it's worth to mention also here that if you look at the cost gradient, so the cost per megawatt per hour for renewables and for waste heat is 6 to 7 times higher per degree than for conventional heat sources. So we need to get down in temperature just to underline the importance of that. And in that respect, we need to look not only at the production source, but also on what happens in the buildings, in a district energy systems. What happens in the building has a huge impact on the entire system efficiency. There is a general acceptance that up to half, maybe 60% of all heat installations out there are either faulty or misadjusted and can be adjusted and need to be adjusted if we need to succeed with lower temperatures. So we need to work both on the production and changing the production mix, but we also need to work in the buildings, in the heat installations, and connect that across the entire system. Also enable the buildings more in the district energy system.
Yeah, now I'm last, but I agree very much with these gentlemen, and I can add one thing, because I think we can pick up the energy everywhere, and we have to do that. I mean, we are talking about an energy system where we pick it up where it's available. So we're not talking about this one production unit, as you also said, but from everywhere. And some district heating companies are further ahead than others. And in those, we can talk about lowering the temperatures and taking energy from data centers and other things, whereas other places it would be more natural to start with the industrial waste heat at higher temperatures and then ingest it directly into the system. But we do see this decentralization that is required to actually manage it all. And then again, highlighting the buildings, because some would claim that the buildings, we cannot take a lower temperature. We hear that all the time, but we also see all the time that when they try, with a little bit of adjustment in those buildings, they can actually take a much, much lower temperature than what they're used to.
Thank you for highlighting different areas where there is potential for further gains and utilizing waste in a sector integration way. Now, maybe starting with you then, giving you the benefit, geographically, where do you see the best potentials? We saw a little bit from Brian, Professor, about geographically where we are, but maybe you have something to add on that.
Yeah, so geographically, again, it really depends on where you are development-wise in district heating, for that matter. So I believe we need these parallel tracks where we see a build-out of existing grids. So in parts of Europe, and now with the gas conversion, we see a lot of gas grids just next to district heating. So that's an obvious way to go and convert this into district heating. So that's one thing that would be very, very relevant in a big part of Europe. In other places, you would simply need to build the district heating grid from scratch and use all the available energy sources to make that happen. So that's back to the 9,000, I think you mentioned, Brian. But we should also not forget, so yesterday I heard about the cooling demand that's just blowing up the roof, and the growing middle class, especially in Asia and Middle East and so on. So district cooling we also need to look into and make that a part of the solution instead of having these individual chillers around the world. I think there's a lot of things to harvest there. So yeah, we can do things everywhere, but it's different things that we need to do.
Thank you. Sten, anything to add?
Yeah, and I really like the Heat Roma Europe approach, and I think it's so obvious that we need more district energy in these 9,000 systems because there's more waste heat than heat demand. And then the key question is how to make it happen. And I think maybe we should mention also here the heat planning. I think the basic for our success in Denmark has been a long-term heat planning. We see that taking up, especially in Germany. And in Baden-Württemberg, where they have now enforced this mandatory heat planning for the 100 largest cities. I think that's a really good initiative, and I think that is needed to make things happen in countries like Germany. We see it moving in the Netherlands, so there are certainly many interesting countries across Europe to look into, and then cooling, like you mentioned also, Carsten.
Yeah, I of course agree. I think there are two low-hanging fruits. The one that the Carsten is talking about, where we expand what we already have today when we have a district heating system. I think when we talk about energy efficiency, when we look at Ukraine, Mongolia, China, we are talking about, and I think if you put these companies together, we could have the energy consumption, but deliver the same amount of comfort to the end customers in those countries. I mean, we have done a lot of those analysis across those countries, and the payback is sometimes 3 months. So there's a huge potential there. Then, of course, in the rest of Europe, where you already have district heating systems, where you maybe going to build that, but also where you have a gas infrastructure. I like Brian showing the Netherlands. It's a classical example where it's quite easy to convert from gas to district heating because it's based on a water-based heating system inside of the buildings. Yes, some of them needs a reconstruction, a smaller part, but it's much easier than if you had electricity warming. So where you already have district heating, where you're going to optimize and expand it, and where you have a gas infrastructure, where it's waterborne, I think those are the two low-hanging fruits. And going to countries, UK, the Netherlands in Europe, and US and Canada, that's really where it's going to happen.
Thanks for that. Can I?
I might add a few things, but we agree, of course we agree. Overall, we have the renovation of the existing networks, and I'm just trying to find my German colleagues around in this room. We can cut the losses in half, including digitalization, new pipes, and redesign. That's one thing to do. The other thing is, of course, expansion of network. Holland is a brilliant example because just last week the government just announced a new energy policy, including where the said that district heating is underutilized. And you just mentioned, and I'll use that next week during the royal visit, that the surplus heat in Holland is at a 50% district heating rate. The surplus heat is enough for that. Was that the...
No, you can supply
Twice as much as you need.
80%
Okay.
more buildings than they have in the Netherlands with the waste heat they have
Today,
today.
and then we have the PTX on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. But the other thing we also need to do in these countries, and it is happening now, that is consumer protection and it's industry regulation. Consumer protection gives itself because as we offer this fine opportunity to the consumers, we need to help to protect the consumers, and we need to make sure that the industry investments, and the investment environment for the industry is there to ensure a long-term profit, to be honest. And this is a long-term solution.
Thanks a lot. Time is running. We have time for one or two questions from you, the audience. So if anybody ventures a question, yes, there's one there. Please state who you are.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for the talk. So I'm Aaron Mornan, Head of District Heating Policy in the UK. I wanted to talk to Martin's point about data. So as the UK is starting to think about its, well, as England is starting to think about its heat network zoning policy, which buildings should connect, what are some of the most important sources or types of data needed to work out where district heating should be situated?
Yes, well, already now we have some engagement with some of the district heating companies in the UK. And they are always surprised when we tell them how little data we actually need to increase efficiency and make sure that they get the best out of the biomass, the waste, or whatever they have. So, I mean, if you have a Kamstrup meter and you have some valves out of the network, 6-7 points for those small networks. That's it. You don't need much more. And that's actually also our message. It's not that complicated. We can make it very complicated, but I think Lars has a very good point. We have been trial and run this for many, many years. The way we are operating the district heating system in Copenhagen, yes, it's getting better and better and better. But back then, when we started in the 80s, it was still pretty good. And it is a proven system. It's a proven operation system. So I think that's a clear message. We have already done this for 35 years. UK is ready. I mean, there's a lot of surplus heat. What always bothers me when I'm in the UK visiting customers is that we have built this nice biomass plant, a waste-to-energy plant, and it's ready for district heating, but nobody is going to utilize it. So,
Thank you. Would there be one more question? Anyone ventures? Yes, I'll give you the mic.
Jan Hansen from SAV Systems. We operate in the UK. We're talking about easy access to waste heat and the rest of it, and you're saying it's not complicated. I've been working with it for now 10, 15 years. It's deeply complicated. And isn't the challenge is that we have so much knowledge between you 4 companies, 5, 10 companies, but when you go out and sell on your own. We don't link it up that easily, yeah? That's what I say. So how can we achieve that? So that's my question. How can we achieve a better linking? Because there's so much knowledge here. But when you work in the country, then that's not easy. It's complicated, and the decisions are not easy to be made.
At one end, it is really energy planning at municipality levels, but that's where you have the surplus heat. So that's one thing: energy planning, energy planning, energy planning. The other thing we proposed in Denmark was to have a travel team going around to the different municipalities discussing use of surplus heat. We haven't quite found the funding for that yet, but we are working on it. But like we had the heat pumps traveling team, having one for surplus heat from a government body, a neutral way. So energy planning, that's all gone.
Yeah, but I think you agree then that, and there has been different initiatives over the past years in Denmark also to do like different system export initiatives, more or less successful. I fully agree that if we interconnect the different technologies we have across us 4 companies here and other companies as well, we have some very strong solutions. And I think also as technology providers, we need to be better at integrating our solutions to serve each other good and to tie the whole district energy value chain together in a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree very much on the knowledge. So you need the knowledge going across. So maybe we should have like a consultant layer on top of the four of us, because they can look through and see, okay, how can we utilize the Grundfos solution with the Kamstrup solution, with the ABB and the Luxtor solution. And it is complicated, but it's definitely possible to do. So we need that level to be part of it as well.
One small comment. One advertise for Danish Board of District Heating that is trying to promote this. If you haven't got any contact, please. Good. And one experience from the UK was, Scotland was at the COP26. The ministry gathered a lot of different industries together, and there we were in a very small room discussing these possibilities from different angles. And I really encourage inviters for just to talk about what is your difficulties now, what have we seen in the past, how are we doing today? Because what we also experienced as the industry was that the main worry from the minister was, well, my constituency, will they still have a job? We had an issue when we had the offshore wind. We thought there would be a lot of jobs. There was no job. What if we do we have enough people to actually do the job when we start doing the investment, etc. So having that point of view, giving to us, say, you need to come up with that kind of solutions or answers to those questions that bothers me in my day-to-day work. I think that's the conversation that we need to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect a bit on your question about the UK. I really hope you go to heatroadmapeurope.eu to have a look. We have the UK in there. Now, you're talking a lot about technologies. There's a lot of other things than technologies here. I think we have to realize these things are about trust, in my opinion. If we want district heating in Europe, in the entire world, really, we need to understand that heating is a complex entity. It's not like electricity. It's something that's related to humans, in my opinion. So you need to build trust, and that means that it should be your idea as a local body. It shouldn't be a consultancy overarching your companies that is coming in. They can maybe help somewhat, but the initiative has to come from your side. And this, in my opinion, means that if we look at the European level, in EU, they can do something top-down, comes down to the governmental level. They can do regulation that enables things, but the enabling things the real things that happen should come from the ground, because it needs to be built from local people, and the trust needs to be there. And what we see is that you can connect. I mean, if you want to start new systems, the idea should come from local cities, and what we see is that you start with the connection of schools and hospitals, those big consumers, and then they're connected. The Netherlands is a great example. We just made a paper comparing the build-out of natural gas infrastructure in the UK and the Netherlands with district heating build-out in Denmark. There's a lot of governmental interplay in all of these kind of things. So we have to realize that this is really a partnership between high-level government and local municipalities.
Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you for the replies and answers and comments from the panel and the speakers for this session. It's coming to an end. I have a couple of household remarks. I would like, although, to add just that the Danish government is also trying to pass on, along with companies and consultants and the Danish Board of District Heating and other players, is trying to pass on knowledge from Denmark. So we try to be an open book to whomever in the UK or in Germany. I see also represented here, maybe somebody else from other countries as well. So I hope that the ones that are with us online or in this room will come and ask to enable you in your country or your situation to learn more and maybe help you to build that trust or build that knowledge base in your home base to grow this fantastic system.